Hello and welcome to the Star Bros podcast. We are excited that you are here joining us today. I'm going to start off this episode by doing something that we didn't do last time and introduce you to my bro host, Jan Solo.
We did it. We just did it like 40 minutes into the episode. And
45, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bit late.
A little bit late. And I'm joined by my bro host, who is very patient and kind and forgiving, Ben Skywalker.
By the way, that wasn't at all an attempt to, put the dagger in the... If anything, it was my fault last time because I interrupted whatever your intro was and just started going off.
That's all right. We got it right this time.
Yeah.
It's a new day.
New day, new episode. We're excited you're here to join us and talk about Star Wars a little bit and take a little travel across the galaxy with us and visit all these wonderful planets that we have come to know and love. And yeah, that's the topic of our episode today. We're going to talk about if we were in this galaxy, where would we go? What would we want to do? What could we see if we went to all these places? And be your travel guides.
Yeah.
As if we haven't been that already throughout the whole cinematic galaxy.
Right.
But anyway, I've gone on a weird end.
That's okay. It's a little bit of a travel log because we know everybody is a little... Well, not everybody. Some people are feeling a little bit cooped up and they want to go somewhere and they want a change of scenery and they want to experience a vacation again. And for a lot of people, it's been a while since they packed up the car and gone somewhere. And so this is going to be like a little bit of like theater of the mind. You're going to have to use your imagination a little bit. And we're going to paint a picture for you of what it would be like to travel to one of our favorite planets in the galaxy. And you're going to be able to sort of imagine yourself having that experience of visiting that place as if you were, on a tour with your grandparents or something.
Yeah, which if you are, I apologize. And I'm sorry. My deepest sympathies.
Why?
To your grandparents.
Why?
Just kidding.
They don't want to go to Naboo or wherever else?
I don't know. Whenever I've traveled with my grandparents growing up, it was just like this whole episode almost. So I don't know. I can only imagine it being full of interesting tales.
Well, let's pretend that they're really wealthy grandparents and you can afford like a Viking River cruise, but in the Star Wars galaxy.
Okay, that'd be cool. So basically, like going to Canto Bight on one of those cruise ships that just goes flying off the waterfall.
Yes, like in Canto Bight, exactly, where they get to sit in their power scooters the whole time and get, they drive their power scooter over to the buffet and get a plate of cookies or whatever they like.
Why didn't that make my list now? I want to go to Canto Bight.
Okay, well, we can throw that in there. That could be a bonus.
Okay, we'll stop there along the way.
I was on a cruise once where somebody on the boat had a heart attack and we had to stop in Key West. And
I don't know where to take this story. Why am I laughing?
And I don't know, but it was funny. Well, it was conflicting. Maybe is the word.
You know what that was? That was just one of those stories that you just did not expect. I was just like, I did not expect you to say, I was on a cruise ship where a guy got a heart attack once.
So the guy has a heart attack. We're somewhere like in the Caribbean, and the captain gets on the speaker and says, "We have to stop. Medical emergency. Got to get this guy to a hospital. Nearest spot is Key West." And so we're like, "Cool. That's terrible. Cool.
We're going to Key West." Hope the guy's okay.
We stopped in Key West for the whole night. Like best sunset I've ever seen.
I've heard.
And the whole time, we and the other couple we were with, we were just like, "This is beautiful. Thank goodness that we stopped here. Hope that guy's okay. This is beautiful. Hope that guy's okay." Like, just kept going back and forth.
It was very conflicting.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know how to feel right now.
Yeah. But, yeah. So imagine you're in a situation like that where all of a sudden, you can sort of close your eyes, not if you're driving, but you can close your eyes and picture yourself being transported to one of these places you've always wanted to travel. Grandparents optional.
I had a good time with my grandparents. I was thinking of a Yellowstone trip that we did.
Oh, cool.
It was just
I've never been.
Interesting in a couple months. I've been probably like 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
I got to live near there for a while, so that's partly why.
It's on top of a super volcano, they say.
Yeah. At some point it'll explode.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't live there anymore. No, that's not why. Before we go any further, how are you, man?
I'm good. I'm doing well. And I wanted to tell you a story about something.
Okay. Is this about cheesesteak eating competitions?
No, I'll follow up with you about that. But so last night I was watching the excellent, now defunct television program Community.
Oh, yeah.
Which we've discussed before. And now it's on Netflix in the US. And it was an episode where part of the overall storyline was about VCR games. Do you remember VCR games?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I had a VCR, of course, but...
So I think it was like on the verge of being this big thing, ended up not being a thing at all.
Okay.
And essentially what it was it's a board game where you interact with what's happening on the television, and you put in a VCR tape and you follow the instructions.
And does it say like fast forward to this time, rewind to this time?
Yeah. Or fast forward until you see the blue block on the screen or whatever. And so...
Oh, yeah. DVDs made that way better.
Yeah. So in this episode of Community, they're playing this like cowboy shoot 'em up VCR game that one of the characters got at a Goodwill store. And I got all these memories flooding back. And I remembered that a friend of mine had one that was a Star Trek VCR game.
Oh, really?
And it was horrible. It was horrible, and it was really confusing, and it was difficult to follow, and it was annoying. But the novelty of it, like you think like, oh, wow, I get to use some technology here. I get to use the VCR.
Yeah.
Let's throw it in. Let's see what happens.
At the time, that was like cutting edge. That was probably the coolest thing you could do.
Absolutely just cutting edge, bleeding edge, some people say. So we played this because girls were not interested in us. And I started thinking back to that, and I thought, was there ever a Star Wars VCR game where you put in the VCR tape and you get the board out and cards and whatever?
What'd you find?
Not only was there one, but a lot of it centers around the Empire and specifically Darth Vader and some of his plans. And I was watching. It's on YouTube. You can go see the Star Wars VCR board game on YouTube.
Okay.
Guess who's in the suit?
James Earl Jones?
David Prowse, the guy who was in the suit.
Really?
No, so that was the last time that David Prowse put on the suit was for Star Wars, the VCR board game.
The last time?
Yeah. And the cinematographer for this game was the same cinematographer as that they used in A New Hope.
Okay.
So it has all the building blocks of something special.
Yeah.
It has... and like the way that this works is you're like they'll tell you fast forward until you see the X-wing on the screen, then you stop. And then James Earl Jones, well, there's a lot of awkward pauses where he'll say stuff like, I sense the dark side growing stronger. Anyone who has a name that begins with the letters D, A, R, or K, take a card.
You're like, wow, this is... I feel like I'm being led to my death just because my name starts with a letter Darth Vader doesn't like.
Right. So the other problem is like, what's the replay value? You know?
Yeah.
Like most board games, anything can happen.
Yeah, that's true. Like once you've played this once, it's like he's not going to pick new letters this time.
Like either my name's still going to begin with that or it isn't. So.
Today my name begins with... What letters did he say again?
Right. So anyway, it's horrible. You can watch the whole thing, but the music is great. The people who worked on it are great. And then
it's horrible by today's standards.
By today's standards, nobody today would make a VCR board game. But it's funny, at the end of that episode of Community, it's like a cowboy game.
Yeah, that's how this started.
That's how it started. And they cut back at the end, and it's a flashback to like 1992 or something. And the actor who gets he gets the call, and he tells his wife, "Wow, I just got the part in the VCR game." And she starts packing her bags. And she was like, this is it. That she was like, we're finally going to be able to like live the life of our dreams. VCR board games are the next big thing. She goes, quit your job at Apple Computer. That's not going anywhere. It's a sinking ship. Who gives you stock options at a company? Let's go live the high life in Los Angeles making VCR board games. And we all know how that ended. But it was a thing for a while, and apparently it was a Star Wars thing, too. Who knew?
Wow. I didn't know that.
Okay.
That was a fun story.
So I'm well. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm ready to jump into our travel history.
Yes.
Let's do it. So first we got to make one other quick stop, though. As you do, you always stop at the gas station before you leave. And this one, we're going to stop at segment 1, which is news from across the galaxy.
Boop, boop.
Pew, pew, pew. So... Again, very quiet, but we did get one piece of news today. Luckily, we are recording on a Thursday, which is not normal for us. We usually record on a Wednesday, but you've got your vaccine and you're fully recovered now from the side effects of dose number 2. So here we are. And luckily, we got some news on a Thursday, which helped us to have some news to cover today, which was a poster of the Bad Batch.
Yes, which is really cool looking.
It does. I love the color palette of it. It's like this kind of very bright red kind of palette, and then the ominous figure of
Pal Friend Patine.
Pal Sheev. What no, Joey Palps.
Joey Palps looming over everyone in just sort of a dark, brooding way.
Yep. Just like he always does.
Yep.
So you get this really ominous kind of feel from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, they're just the little things to get you excited, I guess, about this new. I'm getting more excited the more I see the trailers, the advertisements, all the stuff that they're bringing out.
Yeah, it feels like I think I said this last time, but like the trailer felt really cinematic, and the sound and the first thing I thought was I want to go watch that in the theater. And this feels like a movie poster. Like it feels like a really cinematic take on the show. So I think that the production quality and everything is going to be terrific.
Yep, I agree. I'm looking forward to this one. It'll be out May 4th. Make sure to check Disney Plus for that when it comes out. Other than that, there was one piece of bad news that we got. This one was about 2 weeks ago, like right after we recorded the last one. I think we got this one, and that is for anyone that's a fan of the Lego Star Wars Saga game that's about to come out. It was supposed to be coming out this spring. You could pre-order it. I was that close to submitting my pre-order, and I had something pull me back say, don't do it yet. And I'm glad I didn't, because it has been delayed indefinitely.
What do you think that is?
Well, first of all, I hate the word indefinitely. That's the worst word in the English dictionary.
It's not very useful.
Every time you hear it, you're just like, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like when we were sent home from work. Indefinitely.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean never again. It means we have not yet chosen a date when it's going to come out, but it also kind of means never.
Sometimes it can mean never.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like you might as well just forget about it.
Yeah,
and that doesn't feel good. Now, I don't think that's the case here. The way that it was all phrased was we just want to work on it and get it perfect because they're making some changes to this one that Lego does a ton of these games,
which is fair. It's fair to try to get it as right as you can.
Exactly. Like, this is TT Games as the developer here. They do this every year, but since the pandemic, they've really slowed down.
TT Games?
I think that's the name of it, right?
I don't know.
Yeah. You see it at the beginning of the logo at the beginning of all the games. I play a lot of Lego games, I guess.
That just sounds silly.
It's the little orange and blue Lego.
Where do you work? TT.
I work at TT Games. Hey, I wanted an Audi TT growing up. Those were cool
Me too.
cars.
Yeah.
And I still want one. When they came out with the new models recently.
Are there new ones?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like just a few years ago, they started releasing the TT again.
I drive a TT.
You had to say it like that. Yeah, it does sound really weird.
It sounds a little silly, but yeah.
It sounds like my kid who's learning to talk. My 18-month-old was like, T. Yeah.
I'm bummed about the game, but
thanks for bringing us back.
Bringing it right back. I forget the guy's name, but the famous Japanese game designer had a line that always stuck with me, which was, a game that you release that is bad forever, but a game that you delay may end up being good. So,
and that's all that's happening here. They're delaying it. It's all COVID. You can blame COVID. If it weren't for that, we probably would have had it by now.
Yeah.
We would have had a lot of things like by now.
That's true.
We would have had a few more movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's funny watching all the Marvel stuff now, and they're like, this would have been released a year ago, but here we are. They say that every time. It's great. Yeah, so don't hold your breath for that one because it will come out. They've assured us that it will come out, but they keep delaying it, and I think this is just them, TT Games, being sick of delaying it. What?
No.
I threw that in there one more time.
I see. Yeah, you snuck it in.
Anyway, what else in terms of news happened this past week?
So this one's a little bit better. There's the Hallmark store. The whole Hallmark brand is interesting. They got their Christmas movies, they got their shops, and they have their following.
Every time I go into those shops, I feel like I'm not allowed to be there.
Why is that?
I don't know. I feel like there's stuff there that I'm just not allowed to touch, or it feels like I'm going into my grandparents' house, and if I touch anything, I'm gonna get kicked outside, even though it's negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit.
Well, you're allowed to touch stuff in the Hallmark store. Tell them I said it's fine.
Okay.
But it is like they will make a ornament with anything, and there's a lot of Star Wars ornaments, they'll do the tacky stuff, like they'll make a pile of toilet paper rolls that say 2020 and you can put your family name on it, like that kind of stupid stuff. But they do have a bunch of recognizable ornaments, and I was really surprised to see the new ornaments that were announced this week. In fact, I think it might have been today. The one of them that really stood out to me that I tweeted about at Star Wars Podcast on Twitter was from the Book of Boba Fett, with Boba Fett sitting on the throne in Jabba's palace.
Yeah.
Which looks really cool, has really cool detail in it. Like on the arms of the throne, you can see the Rancor faces and things like that. And there's a series where there's a Grogu and one other one of new ornaments that they just announced today for this upcoming holiday season, which the Book of Boba Fett, I think, is due in December, or is that earlier?
No, it's December is what they've said.
So that's right on the money. They've got a holiday ornament for the Book of Boba Fett coming out right at Christmas time. So that's a little bit of good news. That's a bright spot, and it's a reminder that that's coming.
Hey, they're filming Andor right now. They're about to start filming the Obi-Wan series.
They are. There's a little bit of leakage there.
Yes.
From Andor. There's it looks like drone footage or something of the outdoor set in, I don't know where it was in England, so I'm just going to make up a town in England. You ready? It was in Barnsleyworth, England, which is west of Essex upon Tyne. Barnsleyworth.
Barnsleyworth. I'm gonna Google that later and see what comes up. No, I'm gonna Google it now.
It's cool because you can see like the architectural work that goes into building an outdoor set of some made up town in Star Wars, and we don't know where it is. You can speculate that it looks like a couple things that are somewhat recognizable. Is that a real place?
No, but nothing pops up.
Not a real place yet.
Yeah, let me click search. It's gonna say, "Did you mean Barnsworth?"
No, this is definitely Barnsleyworth.
Well, if you meant Barnsworth, that's somewhere here in Pennsylvania.
Barnsworth is?
Barnsworth School in Chester County.
Wow, so that's not too far away.
Maybe that's why you thought of it.
Could be.
Wow, that's scary.
But yeah, so we saw some leakages from Andor. Looks pretty cool. But again, another good reminder that there's more new Star Wars content on the way to get excited about.
Yeah. That is exciting. And the fact that they're doing 3 all at once and no news is really coming out about it is kind of shocking.
It is a little bit. And if it wasn't for that leak, then they wouldn't have said anything.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get some news and it'll start picking up again. I mean, this is, again, I think a lot of this is just from the pandemic, right? Obi-Wan was supposed to be filming forever ago, I think.
Yeah.
So we'll get back to that. But there was one other thing, too, that happened in the last week or so. What's that?
Was it in Barnsleyworth?
No, it wasn't.
Somewhere else?
It wasn't even in Barnsworth. No, this was with Hasbro. Hallmark's.
Where's that in England?
What's that?
Where's that in England? Hasbro? Hasbro.
It must be somewhere. Burrow. Yeah, sure. You're making this up. You're just doing this to throw me off, man. Stop it. I don't even know how to pick it up anymore. So, no, Hasbro was kind enough to release a lot more things, just like Hallmark was for fans, if you're really big into collecting.
They were kind enough?
They're kind enough.
Kind enough to just grab everybody's wallet.
Out of the charity of their heart, they released some stuff that we will now all want to buy to fuel the profits of corporate America.
What a bunch of saints.
They're great.
Bless their hearts.
But you can get now Wedge Antilles' helmet.
Cool.
From the Black Series helmet of Wedge Antilles, which is really cool looking.
Life size?
What's that?
Life size?
Yeah.
So I can wear it on my work video calls?
Yes. You've seen mine.
That
I put it over my head and I can talk through it and everything. Awesome. But I had the Stormtrooper one.
Yeah.
Empire one.
Right.
It's really cool. So you can get this one of Wedge, which is really neat looking. But then they also announced some of the vintage collection figures. You can get, I think there's a Luke on Hoth. There's Admiral Akbar. We like to say a famous line by him.
Love Akbar.
So you can get stuff like that. Some more Black Series stuff. They have Zero, it looks like. They have one from the what's it called? I think it's Tech from Bad Batch. Mm-hmm. So releasing some from all over the place. So
what's the purpose of the Black Series? Is it that they're more detailed? Is it they're more finely crafted? Are they limited series? Is it because it feels like a prestige type of brand.
I think that's what it's more for. That's how I've always interpreted it.
It's a collector's brand, right?
It's more of a collector's brand. Yeah.
It's not for like kids to play with as much as it is for...
I mean, I don't think
knuckleheads
many
like
of
us to
them
spend
are.
money
Like
on.
they are if you want them to be that.
Yeah.
But I think the Black Series are really cool because you can put them in these posable positions. They come with all these accessories and stuff like that, and so you can have a lot of fun with them. I think, but
Cool.
or you can keep them mint in box, whichever you prefer.
Yep.
But I think it's just a line that is very successful and kind of meant to be more of a top of the line. I mean, they're not cheap. They're $20 a pop, maybe more. So.
And I think it's also like an endorsement of that character's popularity because not everybody gets a Black Series.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And it's always like, when am I going to get this one? And the detail about them is really important and things like Cosca Reeves is one of them that's coming out. That's pretty cool. So yeah, if you're a collector, take a look at some of those. I don't know. I might be going for that Wedge Antilles one at one point.
That sounds really cool.
Like within our BROAXIUM channel, we were sending each other some pictures, and there was one of someone's display where they had all of the different like Black Series helmets and lightsabers and stuff, and I was like, I want that.
Yeah.
That room. One. Now.
Yeah. And it was like a whole wall. It was, if you zoomed in on that, there was duplicates. Like there was like 10 of Luke's lightsaber. Like stuff like that. It was a lot.
I don't know why you need 10, but why not? If you can, why stop at one?
Yeah, right. If you have the room for it.
Yeah. If my arm ever gets chopped off, at least I got another one. Right? That's what happened to Luke. Anyway.
General Grievous?
What?
Like Grievous?
Like Grievous,
Just get a mechanical arm to spin around your other 9 lightsabers.
It makes a fine addition to your collection, right?
Yeah.
Just more. Give me more. Yeah. Let's go to segment 2. More to the story.
To the story.
This one's going to be more to the galaxy.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
We're going to travel across the galaxy now.
Yeah.
And visit a couple of different planets. Where did you want to visit?
So I've got 2 what some people might think are kind of similar spots to visit that I think are going to be nice places to visit. And then I've got one place that will be unpleasant to visit.
I've got one unpleasant as well.
So I've got a 2-to-1 ratio. So, hopefully it more than balances out in the positive, but I'm assuming that you have something similar.
That's exactly what I have.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
What's going to be our first place along the journey?
Our first place is the waiting room at the station before we take off.
Okay.
Because this is a tour.
It's a good point.
So you can close your eyes again, unless you're driving, and you can imagine that you are in this space station preparing to take off, and there's hustle and bustle all around you. Your fellow tourists are, making one last trip to the snack stand. You've got people loading up their luggage. You have people looking for their kids who are lost. And the vibe around you is one of excitement and relief that, hey, we don't have to go to work today. We're going on vacation. We're going to go see some cool places. And you hear the announcement that we are lining up, first class tickets only. That's me and you.
Sorry, no.
At gate number...
The announcement that I thought you were going to say was somebody had a heart attack.
Nobody had a heart attack.
I thought you were about to burst my bubble there.
By the way, here's a real announcement that I heard one time. I was in SFO, which is San Francisco's airport.
Okay.
And somebody gets on and says, all right, we don't want to go to Dallas without you, but we will. So this is your last call. But anyway, we're back. We're in the space station.
No one's had a heart attack. Good. Let's move on.
Nobody's had a heart attack. Everybody's fine. We are queuing up. Check your ticket. You walk on to the spacecraft, you picture whatever comfortable, plush, put your feet up type of spacecraft you can. And on the overhead, there pops up a little map, and it says our first stop is Kashyyyk.
Okay.
So off we go.
I'm opening my eyes now.
Yeah.
I have my eyes closed for most of that.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
It was nice.
So off we go. You have some peanuts and you snack, and we land on Kashyyyk. Kashyyyk, of course, is the homeworld of the Wookiees. One of my favorites. So it's described as a temperate jungle when I was reading Wikipedia and a couple of other places. And I don't know if I would have necessarily described it that way to myself. I've always thought of it as more of a kind of Pacific Northwest type of forest, but temperate jungle. Okay, that works for me.
Yeah, I get that.
So it's a temperate jungle. It's characterized by these big freshwater lagoons, mountains, and these huge trees that are made to look like bonsai trees. A couple interesting things about Kashyyyk. So when you land on Kashyyyk, you step outside, you take in the nice warm air and the breeze off of the fresh lagoon. And one of the things that you'll notice is all around on the horizon, you see these big tree houses up in the trees. Because most of the Wookiees on Kashyyyk live up in the trees. And we know that from the holiday special.
Yep.
Which was unnerving, but we'll have to revisit it because it's part of the visit.
We survived.
We will never go down that road again, probably. But fun fact, the tree houses were designed, the ones that you see in the holiday special, those are Ralph McQuarrie's drawings. So he actually drew those and they just threw them up on the screen, the holiday special.
That's pretty neat.
It is pretty neat. So while you're on Kashyyyk, there are a few fun things to do. We recommend visiting in November. And you know why?
More temperate climate?
Life Day.
Oh, duh.
There's no better time to visit Kashyyyk than Life Day. And as your tour guides, we want you to have the best time possible.
Exactly.
Another thing to enjoy on Kashyyyk is the cuisine. So the average Wookiee eats about 6,000 calories a day, which is right in line with the average American. So you'll probably...
Really?
Oh,
you scared me for a second.
If you're an Olympian, that's like Michael Phelps eats like 8,000 calories a day or something.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, I have the Learning Channel. I can confirm that.
Okay.
So I don't know, what would you want to do if you were on Kashyyyk? So these freshwater lagoons, these giant trees, the tree houses, food, Life Day. How would you want to spend your time?
Well, it's interesting because it looks like there'd be a lot of nice places. Like I'd want to go swimming in one of their fjords or something. Ooh, or, you know, just camp there out there on the bay and have a campfire or something like that. So I could imagine it being a very relaxing, more outdoorsy type vacation.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those you try to blend in with the locals and do what the locals do while you're there. Yeah. To me, I think of almost like going, I've never been, but like going to Baton Rouge for some reason.
Really?
Because, I mean, it's there on the Gulf, right? It's there. The cuisine is very interesting. It's like you just want to blend in a bit. So that's why I guess I thought of that.
Yeah. By the way, Baton Rouge is French for pink hammer. Isn't that weird?
Rouge is red, though. Red hammer?
Yeah, I don't know about that. So
okay. Moving on.
What else would you want to do on Kashyyyk? Would you want to meet with the locals? Like imagine that your space vehicle has just landed and you're welcomed with open arms. Sort of like when you get to Hawaii and they put a lei around your neck, you know, a nice string of flowers, and you're welcomed warmly. And you're shown around and you get to sort of experience Kashyyyk. Would you want to go visit the site of where the big battle on Kashyyyk was? Would you want to go to, I'm making this up, the Life Day Museum?
I think I would want to go to the top. Like, it's one thing to like be there on the ground with everyone, but like you can live within the trees. Like that's literally what they do. So I'd want to go to the penthouse and go to the top. Like what would be a penthouse in a Kashyykian tree?
It would probably be amazing. The view would probably be amazing.
I would love that. That would be one of my favorite things to do there.
Very cool.
On top of the campfire out there on the fjord.
It seems like it would be a place that would be really cozy at nighttime.
Yeah.
Like as the sun set and it cooled off a little bit. And
you know what I bet they would sell there?
What's that?
Instead of like a spa, just Wookiee cuddles.
Wookiee cuddles.
If you want to just like go and hug a Wookiee.
That would be adorable. Yeah,
you know?
Spa wouldn't work because I feel like they would clog all the drains with their hair.
Yeah, probably.
They probably use so much shampoo.
Yeah, I would imagine, yeah.
Yikes.
Well, that's a great first stop.
That's our first stop.
Anything else that you would want to do at Kashyyyk?
I don't know.
You found of interest?
Well, you know, I did want to mention, so I didn't know this going into preparing for this episode, but the Kashyyyk that we see on screen is a real place. So that setting...
Yeah, I was wondering that. Like, where was that?
It was in China.
Oh, really?
And it's in a southern part of China called Wuzhou or Guilin. And if you look up the Karst Mountains, Karst, they're these real craggy, spiky kind of peaks that just seem to like jet up out of the water. And then, there's just like these really sharp angles and these beautiful kind of curving trees that almost look like giant bonsai trees. And they filmed that, and then they superimposed a bunch of stuff on it. But a lot of that stuff you see is real, and you can go visit. And it's considered one of the most beautiful parts of China. And one of the things that surprised me was when you look somewhere up online, it gives you a sense of what it would cost to go visit there. And the average hotel in Guilin is about $40
a night.
Yeah. So if you can get yourself all the way there, you can probably afford to hang out for a little bit. The other thing I thought was interesting, which, take this for what you will, but the cuisine, they mentioned that the cuisine had adapted over time, and it's similar to Cantonese food. So when you get Chinese food in the U.S. or in the U.K. or Canada, where a lot of our listeners are, some of it's Cantonese, some of it's Szechuan, and it just all depends.
Right.
So this is like a little bit of a mix of Cantonese food, lots of noodly dishes, lots of very savory types of food, I think. So if you're a Wookiee trying to get your 6,000 calories a day, it sounds like this part of China is a fun place to try to do it. So
if you ever make it to our galaxy, that's where you probably will want to go.
Yes. So that's a real place. It looks absolutely gorgeous. So would love to visit it someday.
I learned this week that apparently 30 million residents in China still live in caves. On to the next one. On that note, just random fun fact. It was like on a TV show my kids have been watching lately.
Wow.
So
okay.
I'm glad that they're learning. It's like Nat Geo stuff.
Okay. Cool.
So
that is something to learn and know.
Thanks for
all right.
the
So
pity.
all aboard our spacecraft here. Our tour company is going to be heading off to another planet. So grab some peanuts, grab some soft drinks.
Why are there only peanuts on this flight?
Why are there peanuts?
Yeah, why are there only peanuts?
So we're a budget travel company.
Okay.
That is considered your in-flight meal, and that'll be 27 space credits.
Okay.
Off we go to planet blank.
Naboo.
I've heard of it.
Okay, well that's good. Because this is probably going to be my favorite stop along the way. Because, I don't know, whenever I've watched or seen the images from Naboo, on Attack of the Clones especially, but even Phantom Menace, it just looks beautiful. Something about it is very inviting, right? And to me, if it had a phrase, like how you travel to all these different places and there's like, each town has its like phrase. Mine growing up was Lake Orion, Michigan, where we're living as a vacation. And I'm like, nobody's got Lake Orion, Michigan on their travel plans for this year. Nobody does. So that's a very interesting thing to say. But I mean, I liked it there. It was nice. A lot of lakes. Moving on.
I'm trying to think if this if the particular town that we're in now has one, and I just don't know it.
I don't know.
The town where I primarily grew up had a sign that said, I think it was a nice place to live and worship. And then on the back of the sign
said one resident one day.
On the back of the sign, like the side that I lived on, it looked like the front of the sign. It just said, "Goodbye, Godspeed." And so to me, it always looked like anybody coming into town, like the town was just like, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Just keep going. Don't stop and look around.
Anyone who's atheist probably just ignored the word in the middle there and said, "Goodbye, speed." And so they just start booking it out of town. Anyway, no, Naboo's, I think, would be the destination for those who want it all. Because it really does have it all if you think about it. So what are some of the things that you can do there? One of the first things that I would suggest doing is a bit of spelunking. Spelunking. Do you know what spelunking is?
It's like exploring caves in China.
It is. But isn't it also, I guess, so there's spelunking, and then this would be like underwater spelunking, which I guess is just diving, scuba diving, but more specifically like going into the caves I think there's a term for that. Water. What is that?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to just call it that. I sound very uneducated right now. People are like, your travel agency sucks, but whatever. That would be the first thing I would do. So I would suggest going to the Gungan city of Otogunga. Is that how it's pronounced?
I don't know.
Where the Gungans live.
I'm still just saying spelunking over and over in my head.
You will keep doing that, and maybe ignore the rest of my
That would have been
rambling.
a good VCR board game. Spelunking, the VCR board game.
I'd drown in it probably. All
It
the
would
time.
be so bad. Just keep going.
I'm gonna keep going. But you would probably, first of all, before you go, you would need to go to Otogunga so that you could get a trading sub to be able to go through all of these different underwater caverns. You have to be aware of some dangerous fish going there, so make sure you go with an experienced guide, which the Gungans typically are. But before you even set out on this journey, you probably want to stay in Otogunga for a little bit because there's a lot to do there. First of all, I didn't realize this. There's at least 1 million inhabitants living in those bubbles.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a small city by Earth standards, but that's significant.
That's pretty significant. I would say you would probably want to go there and do a little bit of people watching. And there is a grand strip that you can go. It's called the Grand Walkway, where you can go down and do some of that. And get this, by the way, a lot of the preparation I did was using the locations, the complete locations book,
cool book.
by DK. Great book, by the way. He's got some great cross sectionals that you can
All
look
the
at.
DK stuff is so good.
It all is. So I would totally recommend getting this so you can see some of the cross sectionals in it. But it has this. It says you can go down the Grand Walkway and find some, quote, invertebrate eateries. Huh. That's what I thought. Live creature displays and bubble projections.
Bubble projections.
That sounds cool, though. I don't know what it is, but I'm
intrigued. If that was the sign outside the building, I'd go inside to see what the heck is going on.
What's a bubble projection?
Yep.
And then you find out, you go, cool. Moving on.
Yep.
So, yeah, you got to check that out. And then there's a specific bubble complex that I love the name of this. The City Big Space. You got to go check out.
The City Big Space?
Yeah.
Is that translated back from Japanese or something?
Maybe.
The City Big Space.
The City Big Space. It's one of the other bubbles that they're developing around that was apparently really cool. There wasn't much more on it. That was it.
Awesome.
So you got to go check that out.
Yeah.
But so that once you've done all that underwater exploring, well, then you can go to the Gallo Mountains and do a little bit of hiking.
Ooh.
And what I found that was interesting about the Gallo Mountains is that
surf and turf.
It's a sacred place. It's where the what's that?
Surf and turf.
Surf and turf?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you get that there?
Aren't the bubbles underwater?
No, you're not underwater anymore.
I know, but now we're in the mountains. But we were underwater?
What's that?
Were we underwater before?
Yes.
Okay. And now we're going hiking.
Now we're going hiking.
So it was the surf and now we're on the turf.
Yes. It took me forever to put together what you were saying. Yes, the surf and turf. You were messing up this travel guide's explanation. I'm just kidding. What you would want to do in the Gallo Mountains is actually pretty interesting. So this is actually the sanctuary of the Gungans. It's what we see in episode 1, where once they can't live in their underground city anymore, they retreat to the Gallo Mountains into this sacred space. And you probably have noticed there's some giant stone statues, like these big heads there. And that was believed to be the original inhabitants of Naboo. And they couldn't really figure out, like, were these them portraying themselves in statues, or was this their gods and their goddesses that they're portraying? Nobody knows. But they're really cool ancient ruins. It's like going to see Headstone today.
So a great place to get your picture taken
on a big stone head.
Inevitably somebody in the background, like picking their nose or picking their wedgie or something.
Absolutely. Yes.
Cool.
On to the next place you got to visit, though, is Theed. Theed is the big city of Naboo. It's the capital.
Oh, okay. That's where it's all at.
This is where Queen Amidala and the center of the government is. And there's a lot to see. There's a lot of sights there. There's a big, gorgeous waterfall there, first of all. It's the largest waterfall in Theed. There is Broadberry Meadow, which is a secluded garden that is only accessible by boat. Oh. Which you got to go and see.
Are these all these are all like, I'm picturing these as being like excursions that our tourists can go and do. So some of them can go off and see the waterfall, and some others can go off and see the seat of the government as some people call it.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's a lot going on there.
A lot of ornate buildings. It's gorgeous, right?
Architecture is amazing.
It's great architecture. It's over 800 years old.
Oh,
so
I didn't know it was that old. Okay.
Yeah, you can just see so much there. And there's even some catacombs.
Really?
Yeah, so there's some underground tunnels that are now in disrepair that if you are adventurous, maybe you go down there and see what's there.
You can do that in Paris. You can walk around and see all the skulls and things, but no cats, surprisingly.
No what?
No cats.
No cats allowed down there, or no cat skulls?
There's no cats in the catacombs.
Interesting. But that I see what you did there. Took me a little bit. Anyway.
I will show myself out.
And there's an art museum there too. There is actually an art museum.
Who says you can't have it all? You can have it all.
You can. That's it.
And
we haven't even talked about Lake Country yet.
What?
Then there's Lake Country. So if you want to get away from all that, I mean, you remember that image in Attack of the Clones where they're just sitting there in the middle of this big prairie and behind them is this idyllic, like, surrounding of waterfalls. Let's just go there.
Yeah, it looks pretty amazing.
Hang out. So that would be where I would suggest going if you were trying to go find your honeymoon.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of what Anakin and Padme did.
Yeah.
So it works. Something interesting though about the homestead that you can stay at when you go there. First of all, the name of the city that they stayed in was Varikino, and I found this interesting. So Anakin and Padme were staying at the house of a famous poet from like 200 years ago his name was Omar Barenko. And apparently his poetry was very sad and disturbing, as it said. So it didn't show the poems. It just said that it was disturbing. So now my mind's wandering. And the rest of his story is that he was kidnapped by unknown assailants and never seen again.
What?
Yep.
Huh.
Poor Omar.
Wow.
And now you can go stay at his beautiful lake house.
Now it's a tourist trap.
By the way, because there's a lot of monsters in the sea around the globe, right? We see them. There are no monsters in this sea. So you can swim in it peacefully.
Wow.
Knowing you will not get eaten by Loch Ness.
Wow. That sounds really nice.
Do you want to go to Naboo?
I would love to.
What would you do there?
Well, I love all the architecture. I'd love to be able to kind of explore and admire the love that people put into building up Naboo. But I also love the natural landscape. It just looks like a beautiful place to, like you said, go on a honeymoon or whatever.
Yeah, if you're looking for a honeymoon spot, you got it. If you're looking for
I'm
a
not
city
planning
trip,
on getting married again.
No, probably not. But point being, like, it's for everybody. Like I said at the open, if you want to just go there for a cool city vacation,
yeah,
you got it. You want to do a little bit of diving, you got it. Mountain climbing, you got it.
Yeah,
there's everything there. So Naboo would be the I would say highlight of your trip. If you had to guess anywhere else in the world here that it kind of resembles, what would you say?
I don't know. Like maybe somewhere. Weren't some of the exteriors filmed in Italy or something?
Yeah, I think. Actually, I think it was an exterior of a building in L.A. and like California too.
Oh, really?
That inspired it.
Okay.
Because there's all those like dome buildings.
Yeah.
But it has more of a European vibe to me.
It has like sort of like a central southern European vibe, like a Mediterranean vibe, I think is the word that I'm looking for.
I said Greece.
Ah, okay. I can see that.
I said kind of Rome and Greece is what it kind of feels like.
Yeah.
Stop 3 on our trip. Where are we going?
Well, do you want to, let's say you're traveling with some people who you don't like. Do you want to ruin their trip?
Not yet.
Okay.
Do we want to save that for the end?
Well, we can save it for the end.
Let's do that.
So we're going to go to my favorite
because then we
place.
want to leave them there.
Right. We'll leave them and come back.
You're like, hey, this is where you're going to stop. Bye. We're going home.
So I don't have a whole lot to go on here because this is sort of a little bit wild, a little bit untamed. Maybe is the best word for it.
Sure.
But close your eyes, put up your feet. We're going to take a short trip over to, sorry?
Get another bag of peanuts.
If you want, you can go crazy.
I feel forced now. 2
bags of peanuts and a seltzer. And we are going to the forest moon of Endor.
Ooh.
Which the inhabitants actually call Tana.
You like anything that is very furry and cuddly.
Yeah, I do. And I also like the woods.
I don't like how many times I said the word cuddle on this episode.
Multiple times. So we're going to the forest moon of Endor, which I never knew the figure, but it really is the forest moon. There's only 8% of the surface of the planet is water. All the rest of it is green, lush forest land. And, the inhabitants, the Ewoks.
Yep.
There are approximately 30 million Ewoks.
There's a lot of little bears.
It's a lot of little murder bears. But they're lovely. And, one of the things that I would tell our tourists is that they often get a bad rap, as do the Wookiees, for being primitive, which I've argued against this before. They have a social structure, so they have a chief of their tribe. They've obviously mastered some tool stuff, so they can, build their villages in the trees. They have weapons. They have a system of religion and government, and they have family structures and things like that. So maybe not as primitive.
But come on, their religion is a golden god.
So it's not. It's they're winging it in a sense, but
they're like, he just showed up. Let's worship him.
Yeah, that'll do. So
donkey.
It doesn't seem like terribly well planned out or whatever, but who are we to judge? That's their thing. Yeah, so I've always loved the look and the feel of Endor. It seems very terrestrial, but like a little bit not. Mm-hmm. And I've had that experience when I've been to Northern California and look at the redwoods, and you're like, wow, that it seems like we're still on Earth, but it seems very otherworldly too. Like it's just hard to believe that type of flora and fauna can exist.
Yeah.
And another thing that I learned was really interesting. The bachelors in a village of Ewoks live on the ground. But once you've settled down and gotten married or have a family, you get to go live up in the village in the trees. And the bachelors, one of their jobs is to protect the village on the ground, where apparently the most dangerous foes can be found. So
interesting.
Yeah. So when you're visiting,
if you live past your single years,
right? So if you get married and you've survived, you really earned something, and it's worth celebrating. And they do, and they celebrate, and they cook, and they have feasts, and they have music and stuff, which is what I would recommend to our tourists. If you got to go visit Endor, I'd say, let the bachelors on the ground protect you from whatever it is that's trying to eat you or hurt you, and go up in the trees and hang out and listen to some music and have a party with the Ewoks.
Speaking of music, the only song in my head right now is imagining the Ewoks going around singing the song from Mulan, A Girl Worth Fighting For. They're like, oh man, I hope I can live through this so I can get married.
Yes. I think that's probably a really important part of their lives. But yeah, I think the general assumption that's incorrect is that the scenes of Endor were filmed in Muir Woods in California, which is a national landmark, which is to this day a protected space that you can go visit with your friends and family and see the giant redwoods and see really what does look like Endor. But it's not true. The movie itself was filmed on private property that actually belonged to a logging and forestry company.
I thought you were about to say a friend of George Lucas's.
Nope. This was just some company that bought the land to cut down the redwoods, which I don't even know if you can do anymore. I don't know if that's still a thing.
Seems like they'd be protected.
I think they're protected.
This is California we're talking about,
That's true. They're certainly more protected than they used to be.
Yeah.
And I know that there was a fight over Muir Woods recently about, well, what should we take away the landmark status or whatever? But to this day, you can go visit it. I would highly recommend it. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. And maybe you'll see a little murder bear. So, any other questions about Endor? What would you want to do on Endor?
That's another one where I would want to mingle with the locals again.
Yeah.
And hope that they don't tie me to a pole and try to,
like roast you,
roast me alive.
Like part of the feast for dinner.
Like listen to their stories, just because, to me, the idea of a good vacation is one where you can relax, unplug, right? And it seems like you could do that there, but apparently not on the ground. I got to get into the trees.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it would be great to go and like visit nature. So maybe during the day when it's less dangerous, go and hike around.
Yeah.
So see a lot of like very fun very outdoorsy experiences in these ones.
Yeah. No, yeah, I feel like you'd be spending the majority of your time having some experience climbing, hiking. I don't know, maybe find 8% of that water and go fishing. But yeah, I think your experience on Kashyyyk and your experience on Endor would be sort of similar in that you'd be outside all the time with the locals.
What kind of souvenirs do you leave Endor with?
So depending on when you go there, you could get like an old stormtrooper helmet off the ground.
Post-Empire days.
Post-Empire days, yep. I don't know, I feel like they'd make you something. Like they'd make you like a thoughtful keepsake. Like they'd make you your own. You know how like Wicket has that cool hood where his, comes over his head and his ears stick out? Maybe they'd make you your own like cool little leather hood.
I think that's what I would want to walk away with. It's like something custom made by the Ewoks.
Yeah.
Right?
A custom-made Ewok
leather.
Gift. That'd be awesome.
I like that idea.
A spear, a dagger.
Yeah, I like that idea. Should we go to our final destination before we drop our friends that we don't like off at a couple of places?
Yeah, where are we going? Where are we going?
Let's go to Coruscant.
Ooh.
So this is very interesting to hear the ones that you chose versus the ones I chose. Mine have cities. Mine's are, I guess, more like city vacations. Whereas yours are more like unplug, go into nature vacations.
Well, you know what's interesting is I was reading about Kashyyyk, and the earliest ideas about Kashyyyk were that it was going to be a moon that orbited Coruscant.
Huh.
And Coruscant, I think at the time, in George Lucas's mind, was called something different.
It was, yeah.
But those two planets were sort of intertwined in their stories and like in location.
I'm glad they didn't go with that personally. And I'm also glad they went with Coruscant. I really like that name.
I really like Coruscant too. But yeah, for some reason, I guess they were pretty close to one another in the very beginning. But
well, a few things to know about Coruscant.
Yeah.
Before you go there.
Okay.
One, it is most like Earth. So it has 365 days in a year and 24-hour days.
Really?
Yeah.
Because not to rehash this or go back, but Kashyyyk has 26-hour days.
I think that's Naboo as well.
And Kashyyyk has a 381-day calendar year.
A little bit longer trip around the sun then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's similar to what Naboo was, but this is the planet that is most similar to Earth. And how many people do you think live on Coruscant?
Wow. Like 8 billion?
Bit more?
12 billion.
A lot more.
50?
It's not even the word billion.
A trillion people?
1 trillion people.
Wow.
So this is the mecca for people watching. If you like going to the city and just like seeing all different kind of characters, here you can do that too. But now there's all different kinds of species too. So the belief is that Coruscant is where the human species in Star Wars began.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it's kind of gotten that because it's the center of the government, it has the privilege to be the center vector. So 000.
Interesting. Yeah,
so,
it's like the prime meridian.
Exactly. So this is the place to go if you want to get to the center of it all. All the major trade routes lead to it.
So they literally made themselves the center of the galaxy.
They did. And put the Republic there and everything. Now, here's the other interesting thing about this. So the buildings themselves are very tall. In fact, the entire planet is just one big city, right? And that was kind of established pretty well within the movies, I think. But how tall do you think those buildings are?
Thinking back all the different scenes of like the multi-layered flying traffic and stuff like that. Is this in stories?
Feet.
Feet.
Yes.
I don't know, like 10,000 feet?
20.
20,000.
20,000 feet.
Wow. Okay. So like
almost all the buildings are kind of at that height.
And I think like cruising altitude for like a normal domestic flight is like 36,000 feet.
So the troposphere, which is the lowest layer within our atmosphere, is 33,000 feet. You are literally above the clouds. So much so that because this is, I mean, think about what this has done to the environment of this planet. There are no lakes, oceans anymore. They've covered all the land and buildings, so there's like literally no land. And how do you even like breathe at that level?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, isn't the air thinner?
The air is extremely thin. The air pressure is almost gone. Oxygen's really low. You're above the clouds. So this is one question I had as I learned this. I was like, so how did it rain in that last scene of Revenge of the Sith where Anakin is being transported into the medical bay to become Darth Vader? And it's like pouring rain, you remember, over him? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, how's there any weather patterns when it's just a bunch of metal and glass buildings?
And I imagine that it's something, but because of how tall they are, there's like areas even beneath all the buildings that are like microclimates.
Oh.
Right? So
like San Diego.
I guess. Yeah.
It has its own little climate.
Oh, that's true. San Diego's a special place.
Yeah.
I would love to live there.
Me too.
Just for the weather. So those are some interesting things to note. Now, why is this a good vacation spot? Because you can get lost there. There's so much to do and so much to see. There's the arts, right? So you can go to the, I think it's Uscrew District, where you can go to the Galaxy Opera House and maybe Palpatine will be there watching a cool show.
Yep, watching the Jello melt or whatever it is.
Whatever it is, yeah. You can go to the Outlander Club, which is what we see in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
So the Outlander Club is really interesting. I got something funny to share about that. So you can stay there for days at a time, apparently, too. A lot of gambling, a lot of playing games.
Do they just not close?
They just don't close. It's just constantly open, receiving visitors. And you can gamble, you can play games of chance, you can watch sports from other areas of the galaxy being broadcasted to...
I remember watching the robot football players or whatever it was.
I always loved that. You can play some sabacc as well.
Cool.
But you could also take a break from all that and go into a sleeping pod and maybe even take a shower.
Oh, that sounds nice. Refreshing.
Yeah. So this is a place where they're going to take a lot of your money, but at least you can get a good night's sleep and give them more tomorrow.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah. It receives the higher end folks and the lower end. And there was a drawing in the book that was really interesting of like the higher echelon people in a room, and there were some dancers in there. And I'm just going to read to you real quick what it said.
Okay.
And tell me if you shudder at this. It pointed to the one is that exotic dancer will later be eaten by visiting crime lords out of misplaced politeness.
What?
It makes sense of that.
Is that too being mistranslated from another language?
I don't know. This is not coming from another language. It's coming from Pablo Hidalgo.
Wow.
And the story team at Star Wars.
That's not my kind of party.
This poor dancer is going to get eaten, and it's going to be considered polite.
Wow.
Misplaced politeness.
Whoops.
Yeah. Don't go to the top of that club.
Wow.
But that's another thing you got to be careful of. So there's a lot of police in Coruscant, but they're not so great at patrolling certain areas. Now, as you can imagine, where do you think the higher end people live?
I don't know. I was going to say, I would normally say that they probably live in the nicest climates or whatever, but I don't know if there are different climates on Coruscant anymore. So I'd say they probably live in the tippy tops of all these tall buildings.
That's it. Well, think about it. That's where you get sunlight.
Mm.
And how much does sunlight contribute to happiness? A lot.
Yeah.
If you wanted to hide your activities, where would you go?
I would go down underground when nobody can see what I'm doing.
The underworld layer. Further down into the underworld. And some people can be down there and never come out.
Wow.
So you got to be really careful. If you go to visit this place, stay on the top. Everything you want to do is on the top.
Mm-hmm.
You can see some great buildings, some great architecture of the sites. You can see the Senate building and the Jedi temple. You probably can't get into them because the security in both places are pretty tight. But you can at least see them. You can go to Cocoa Town.
Cocoa Town?
Yep. And go to a bunch of different diners, including Dex's Diner, is there?
Oh, that's in Cocoa Town?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. But so again, some places to avoid. The underworld, because the deeper you go, the less likely you'll get out. Some very shady people. You don't get any sunlight. It's all fake lighting. And another place to avoid is a place called The Works. So, Coruscant is very industrial. Like there's got to be power plants and things like that. These places exist, but a lot of them have over time become abandoned and fallen into disrepair. What does that sound? That sounds like a good place for a certain group of people to congregate.
Yeah.
Specifically, the Sith do at one point.
Oh.
So just make sure you know where you're going. Even if you're going to go to somewhere like Outlander Club, make sure that you can get out. I don't know how else to say that.
I think you just did say it.
Yeah. But other than that, there's a lot of fun things to do there. A lot of clubs. There's a comedy club there.
I'm sure there's a million of them probably with the trillion people.
With the trillion? Yeah. There's a lot of fun things, city life to do there. So if you want that experience here, I say you probably need to go to Tokyo or New York City.
Yeah.
Right. But anyway, that's Coruscant. What would you do in Coruscant?
Oh, I don't know. I always liked in one of the expanded universe novels that I read when I was a kid, there was a description of Coruscant that talked about the constant construction. Like you go to any city and you see the big cranes hanging around and you see that, things are being worked on and remodeled, and you knock down an old building, you build a taller one there. And the same thing must be true on Coruscant. And one of the descriptions I was reading was about this. I can't remember what book this was in, by the way, but there's a giant robot, and it would, because Coruscant's been around a long time, these buildings just get run down and they decay and whatever, and they get replaced. Yeah. And the robot would eat the building and then eat the next building and eat the next building. And then all the parts would be recycled. So it'd separate like the metal and whatever inside of itself and sort it. And another robot would come up behind it and start building using some of the recycled materials.
That's kind of cool.
So it was constantly sort of like almost like a farm operation where you're reaping and sowing constantly.
How do the inhabitants get notifications of that?
I don't know.
They get a letter in the mail. Your building will be eaten soon.
I don't know, because there's no case where everybody gets the news on time of anything.
No.
And
how many casualties end up in that?
Can I share a story real quick?
No.
You're like, I've had it with these stories.
The last one, you made me feel bad and laugh at a heart attack. So I don't know. Just kidding. Go ahead.
Well, there's some tragedy in this one, but
oh no.
A few years ago,
you prepared me now.
We were in Belize, and Belize used to be a British colony, and it's a free country now. But because of its British roots, people in Belize used to drive on the left side of the road, which is what we in the US and A call the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
And anyway, there's this trans-Latin American highway, the Central American Highway that they were building, that they wanted to go through Belize. And the authorities, this group of countries got together and said, we'll build the highway through your country and it'll be great because trucks will come through and they'll bring goods and services and people and whatever. But we're not going to switch over to the left side of the road when we come through your country. Can we just have your country be on the right side of the road when we're driving? And Belize said, okay, everybody, listen up. Like 2 Saturdays from now, drive on the other side of the road.
That was it?
And it was a bloodbath.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine.
Because can you imagine? They just switched what side of the road you drive on. And I think they tried really hard to tell everybody, but the word doesn't always get out the way that it should.
No.
And so, yeah, similarly, I think they probably put up a sign in the elevator that says, look, robot's going to eat this building tomorrow.
This building is going to get eaten tomorrow.
You got to go somewhere else. We don't care where you go, but you can't stay here. You're going to get eaten and sorted for parts and then reconstructed in the new building.
Yeah.
And some people probably missed that note, but what would I like to do in Coruscant?
Besides getting eaten by a building machine.
I would love to ride around in that crazy traffic and some type of convertible vehicle.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Take in all the noise and the smells and the sights and the experiences and the flashing lights and all that cool stuff, and just really kind of soak it in, because I love being in like a mega city. I love New York. I've been to Mexico City. People always underestimate that. I think that's just a massive mega city. I haven't been to Tokyo yet, but sometime soon. And there's just something about that vibe, that atmosphere. It's just electric and exciting, and would love to just be there soaking it in. I'd love to go to Dex's Diner, and I'd love to kind of rub elbows with the locals too. And I think that's the other thing I've always wondered about Coruscant is, like you go to any big city, like you go to New York City, and Manhattan's not so much Manhattan as it is 100 little neighborhoods that each have their own distinctive feel and their own vibe, and they're known for something.
Yep.
You go to Murray Hill in Manhattan, and there's 50 great Indian restaurants. And I'm sure like Coruscant, you go to, this neighborhood, and there's probably, 1,000 of whatever it is that you're interested in. So I'd love to kind of explore the different vibes of the neighborhoods.
Yeah, I think that's people watching
people watching, sit in a cafe and watch the world go by.
Yeah, it's like you go to Las Vegas, you're gonna pull the slot machine.
Yeah.
Right. You just, even if you don't gamble, you're just gonna like, can I borrow one of your coins and pull that for you? Thank you.
Yep.
And keep whatever comes out. Yeah, you're just gonna do that.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff I think that you would do in Coruscant, but again, go with an experienced travel guide so that you can avoid the places where you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And know how to be polite, which hopefully doesn't involve eating dancers.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Or taking death sticks from, well, what's his name? Elan. Sleaze. It's like Sleaze something. I can't remember his name off the top of my head now. He's actually drawn in here.
Is he?
It's really funny.
In your little cross section,
but they got his name
in there
differently. It says Slithmonger Elan, but I don't remember that. I thought it was like Sleazebago,
something like that.
It is? Yeah, but it's all right. So it says Slithmonger Elan goes home to rethink his life. Which
I love
amazing.
that they put that in there.
So, all right, where are you going to drop off people that you don't like on this trip?
Let's say we've got Uncle Randy, who works at Pep Boys in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, traveling with you. And nobody likes Uncle Randy. He's got horrible opinions about people's lives, and he's kind of a pain, and he eats your leftovers in the fridge and then tries to make it look like he didn't.
Wow, this Randy guy sounds like a real person in your life, not named Randy.
So Uncle Randy and I are making one more stop, and that's going to be on Dagobah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, look, a historic place. It's a place that matters in Star Wars.
Yeah. Sensitive in the Force, or strong in the Force. What's the word I'm looking for?
Yep. And, it's the place where Luke really begins his journey to become a Jedi and all that good stuff. But it's also kind of a dump.
Yeah.
It's not somewhere you'd want to go on vacation. It's the perfect place to leave Randy because it is a hot, humid swamp.
Mm-hmm. With monsters in it.
With loads of things trying to kill you.
And
leeches, monsters, big things, little things, swooping down from the air, jumping out of the water. The other thing one of the things I read about Dagobah that is not immediately apparent to me by watching the movie is it is known for its terrible, violent thunderstorms.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, we do get a shower in there. But
yeah, we got a rainy day. And look, you don't see the sun at all. Like, it's always overcast and gloomy, and there's a fog coming off the swamp, which apparently is very textbook for swamps. I haven't spent much time in any swamps, but usually the wetland places like that are humid places that get pretty warm in the summer, and so there's a lot of, there's a fog on top of the water, which is a cool look, but probably feels really unpleasant. It's the kind of place where, your shirt sticks to your back and, you're probably itchy and uncomfortable the whole time. Perfect place to dump Randy.
Poor Randy.
So yeah, Dagobah, hot, humid, boggy, swampy, violent thunderstorms. I also think of thick underbrush. You probably have to hack your way through anywhere that you want to go. So it's probably really easy to lose somebody and forget that, the shuttle's taken off and, oh, where's Randy? Oh, who cares?
Just leave him there.
So look,
it's his fault. He wanted to go to this place in the first place.
There's not much on Dagobah. It's not like there's towns and cities and an art museum and a diner and things like that. It really is a place that is rich with the Force in that there is a lot of life there of all different types. And I remember you pointing that out to me. You're the one who talked me through, look how densely packed it is with all different types of life, which is great until you want to have a conversation, or you want to get a warm meal, or you want to go see some entertainment, or do some people watching or something.
Oh yeah, this isn't the place for that.
This is not the place for that. This is a place to get a leech in your shoe. This is a place to accidentally slip and fall down a ravine and never be discovered again. This is a place
me never want to go to Louisiana right now.
Right. So it's kind of like, I looked it up, and in Pennsylvania, there are over 200 swamps.
Okay.
And they're mostly smaller, and
probably up north.
I think mostly northern and western part of the state. But this too can be a hot, humid, damp part of the country, especially in the summertime with violent thunderstorms. So there are some similarities, or most of the swamps in this country are down south, along the Gulf Coast.
Yep.
And in Florida, And the thing that I always associate with swamps, in the US at least, is alligators.
Yeah.
And other dangerous things.
Swamp monsters.
Yep. Swamp monsters that you can't see but are just below the surface. And that to me is what Dagobah's like. There's just stuff churning under the surface, flying through the air. You can't really see. It's hot and sticky. Your shirt's stuck to your back, and it's just uncomfortable.
Yeah, just
so Randy, have a great time.
Well, and if you don't want to drop Randy off at Dagobah, if that wasn't enough for you, if he then says, why don't we go to Mustafar?
Oh.
Then you can drop him off there.
Okay.
And let him burn. Jeez. We don't like Randy. Poor Randy.
Gosh.
Sorry. No, but Mustafar is interesting in the sense that, like, first of all, the book was